Wow, this week is going to be a really busy week in the stock market, and we have a lot of different catalysts we need to look at. So, if you guys don't know me, my name is Jonathan, and on this channel we talk about all things personal finance and investing. So, without further ado, let's get right into what we gotta look out for this week. So, the first thing we have to look out for is Microsoft earnings on Tuesday, and recently Microsoft has announced that they are going to lay off about 10,000 employees. This is mostly due to a lot of the profit pressures we have seen with a lot of legacy tech, given the fact that we are seeing tech revenue go down. So it's not too much of a surprise that we did hear about these layoffs. They are the first legacy tech companies to report their Q4 earnings numbers. So it'll be very interesting to see if all of the market cuts and revenue revisions to the downside are either overdone or underdone. So the market's expecting an EPS of around $2.29 and revenue to be about $53.2 billion for the most recent quarter. Another catalyst we need to check for next week is the Texas Instruments earnings. And most people, when they think about Texas Instruments, they think about these like little calendars that all the STEM people in college use. But they're a little bit more nuanced than that. They're actually a semiconductor company. So this could give us a really good glimpse into that space. So if you're investing in companies like NVIDIA or AMD, this may be a way to almost kind of preview what kind of earnings we're going to get from those companies. The company has suffered a lot of earning revision to the downside, kind of like every other tech company in the market right now. But the stock actually has held up pretty well, only being down about 2% for 2022. The market's expecting an EPS of about $1.98 per share and revenue of about $4.6 billion. The next thing we need to watch out for, and this one I think is probably one of the biggest catalysts of the week and one that's been highly anticipated by the market, and that is Tesla earnings. Tesla has gone through a lot over this past quarter. We've seen Elon Musk sell even more shares of Tesla to fund his Twitter acquisition. We've also seen massive price cuts in their vehicles. And they have rumored of the possibility of 2 new factories. So the market right now is expecting an EPS of about $1.06 for the quarter and a revenue of about $24.4 billion. And what I'll be looking out for is really their gross margin numbers, not only for Q4, but also their guide for the future as well. Something else that we should look out for, especially on the earnings call, is talks about the Cybertruck production. It is highly anticipated that will start within the next year or so. So we do want to hear if there is any updates on that. And also another thing I want to hear as well is their growth guidance for the next year or next quarter, as it'll be very interesting to see if they could still continue to grow at a decent rate, given the fact that we are starting to see a slowdown in the car market overall. So another catalyst we want to watch out for is Visa earnings. And there's no real thesis behind this, but I do think that looking at Visa earnings could give us a really good insight on consumer habits and the trends that Visa is noticing on their end. Another catalyst is Intel earnings, which is also Thursday as well. That will give us another look into the semiconductor space. To be honest, Intel isn't my most favorite semiconductor play, but it is good to get another data point on kind of what's going on in the market overall. So Intel earnings may be that way to kind of get another insight into it. So Amex earnings on Friday, again, no real thesis, kind of like Visa earnings, but I do think that, again, Amex could give us insight into consumer, especially the more wealthier consumer, the higher income consumer per se, given the fact that Amex tends to gear more of their products towards higher consumers. Another catalyst we should watch out for is the Personal Consumption Expenditure Price Index, also known as the PCE report. And that comes out on Friday. And remember, the PCE is the Fed's most preferred measure of inflation. And with the PCE, shelter inflation tends to make up a much smaller portion of the PCE inflation number. So it will be good to look at this report, given the fact that we do know that shelter inflation is starting to trend down. And from the CPI report that we got in December, we did know that a lot of the inflation that we did see did stem from shelter inflation. So this will be something really good to watch out for. So that's basically all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you know anyone who this video could provide value to, please consider sharing it to them. As always, please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.